Welcome to Your Wish Fulfilled, where we go into the feeling of having attained everything you want and coming from that beautiful space so that you can experience right now your future reality as if it's really here in this moment. To begin, let's just take a few beautiful, gentle breaths, nice slow breaths. And just open your heart and mind to something you'd love to create, manifest in your life. And imagine walking through a doorway. And as you walk through, you go into this future reality as if you enter into it right now, where you have attained everything you want. And it is really here, right now. Noticing the relief, the gratitude, the good feelings. Notice what is different and wonderful as you have achieved everything you desire. And just noticing those good feelings and bringing it into your body. And staying with that as we go into this episode today. We're tapping into The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel. Great little book. And she talks about casting the burden, impressing the subconscious mind. And one of the things that helps us manifest, and I've manifested so many amazing things in my life, that's why I'm doing this podcast, because, I used to be caught up in just silly little things and limited thinking and addictions, and then I went on to have a spiritual awakening that completely changed my life, and I've lived in the most beautiful places in the world and made 7 figures and helping thousands of people. It's just an incredible life, but the key thing is to feel really, really good. And the thing that really makes the biggest difference is that we need a way of letting go of the fears, the negativity, the worry, the anxiety, because if we have a burden with us, if we're carrying burdens, how can we come into the feeling of attainment? Right? Imagine you get everything you want in life, but you weighed down with heavy bags and negative feelings. You can't enjoy anything, right? But if you can release the burden, cast the burden away, then you can finally relax. You must remember what it's like if you're carrying heavy bags, if you're traveling somewhere and you just finally put them down and sit down and you're like, thank goodness, right? So we have energetic burdens, and that's what we're dealing with today. How do we deal with them? I'm going to read from this book. When you know your own powers and the workings of your mind, a great desire is to find an easy and quick way to impress the subconscious with good, for simply an intellectual knowledge of truth will not bring results. right? So we have to impress onto our subconscious all these beautiful visions that we have. In my own case, I found the easiest way is casting a burden. A metaphysician once explained it in this manner. He said, the only thing which gives anything weight in nature is the law of gravity. And if a boulder could be taken high above the planet, there would be no weight in that boulder. And this is what Jesus Christ meant when he said, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. This book references the Bible a lot because it's back in the 1940s. He had overcome the world vibration and functioned in the fourth dimensional realm, where there is only perfection, completion, life, and joy. He said, come to me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. We're also told in the 55th Psalm to cast thy burden upon the Lord. Many passages in the Bible state that the battle is God's, not man's, and that man is to stand still and see the salvation of the one. This indicates the subconscious mind, the higher self, is the department which fights your battle and relieves you of burdens. We see, therefore, that if you violate the law and carry a burden, the burden is an adverse thought or condition. That's root is the subconscious. It seems almost impossible to make any headway directing the subconscious from the conscious reasoning mind with its limited conceptions filled with doubts and fears. How scientific it is then to cast the burden upon the superconscious mind, the mind of perfect visions, where it is made light or dissolved into native nothingness. For example, a woman in urgent need of money made the statement, I cast this burden of lack on the Christ within, and I go free to have plenty. I cast the burden on my higher self or on the divine, and I go to have plenty. This belief in lack was her burden, and as she cast it upon the Christ within, or her subconscious higher self, the superconscious flooded the subconscious with its belief of plenty, and an avalanche of supply was the result. So what does this all actually mean? This is a very deep thing. So what she's saying basically is that if we have burdens, negative energy or belief systems that are basically holding us back and not in alignment with these perfect visions that we hold, they are going to block us. And so we have to cast that burden on a higher power. And by doing so, we allow the visions that we have to naturally feed into our subconscious, activate our subconscious, which then gets to work. Because remember, the subconscious mind, if you've been listening to some of these other sessions, the subconscious, basically a magical machine that gets to work with whatever we program it with. So if we have a burden, the subconscious is programmed with the burden, which we don't want, right? It's going to manifest more burdens. Whereas if we hold the vision of your future self, like we did at the beginning of this session in the meditation, holding that visualization that you've attained everything, then that trickles down into your subconscious and goes to work in strange and mysterious ways, which is absolutely fascinating to watch how things come to manifest. But in order for us to really allow these higher ideals, this higher reality to come into your subconscious and then into your life, we need to first cast the burden. In a previous session, we talked about the law of forgiveness, which is about finding the secret benefits in the painful situations that happen so that we're no longer burdened by them. You can go and listen to that if you haven't already. But this is a different practice of casting the burden onto a higher power. Now, my own personal belief about this, my own personal experience, is that there is a being of infinite love and infinite power and joy who can take all of our burdens. I'm not going to get into any religious terminology here. This is something that anyone can use. And all you need to do this is to have an awareness that there is, just like the sun, the physical sun, if you were to throw something into the sun, right, what would happen? Imagine we got all the trash, all those big piles of trash all over the planet, and these big ocean of floating trash, all the trash. We put it in the trash can and it goes to these weird places. Imagine you could collect all of that up, right, all the trash in the world, into this big container, this massive container, and then you were to send it off to the sun, the physical sun. What would happen? It would burn up, it would disappear, there would be no more trash, right? It would completely destroy everything. It would be absolutely destroyed. So there's the equivalent of that on a spiritual level. And so this being, you can imagine, is like a being of light, like the sun, but it's a being of pure spiritual bliss, blissful, pure, joyful, magical energy. I have all these pictures in my house of this light shining, just to remind me. I'm looking at one here. I actually have two in this room. So there's this shining sun, spiritual sun, and you can cast your burden into the light. Let's just practice it now. Think about something or feel the burden that you have. And you can say in your heart and your mind, I cast this burden into the light. This being is the remover of sorrow and the bestower of happiness. So when we let go, when we release the burden, then we create space to receive the pure visions and the pure blessings and the experience of attainment. So let's take a moment now just to gather together the burden. Imagine it's like a bunch of different bits of trash, and you put it all together. And you can humbly say, look, I don't know what to do about this, too complicated. I'm not going to try and figure it out. I'm just going to put it together, and I'm going to give it to the one who can completely purify and remove it and take it away. And you're just offering it up. Just imagine you're handing it up and it's being pulled out of you, the burden, pulled out of your heart, out of your mind, out of your life. I'm giving the burden away. And it's being purified, cleared away. And as you let it go, just noticing how light you feel. Such good feelings. And then remember your highest visions, a feeling you've attained everything, and just receive, let that pure vision that you hold for yourself trickle down into your subconscious. So you open up, you create space to feel you've attained everything, proportionate to how much you let go. Because these negative burdens, these negative feelings, they're blocking us, they're taking up space, right? There's only so much space within us, in our heart, in our mind, right? And so when we create space, just like if you have a little house and you've got all these things, you can't bring new things in if you haven't got rid of the old things. I'll read from this book and we'll come back to this. Another example, one of my students had been given a new piano and there was no room in her studio for it until she'd moved the old one out. She was in a state of perplexity. She wanted to keep the old piano, but knew of no place to send it. She became desperate as the new piano was to be sent immediately. In fact, it was on its way, with no place to put it. She said it came to her to repeat, I cast this burden on the Christ within, and I go free. I let it go, let it go. A few moments later, her phone rang and a woman friend asked if she might rent her old piano, and it was moved out a few minutes before the new one arrived. I knew a woman whose burden was resentment. She said, I cast this burden of resentment on this higher power, and I go free to be loving, harmonious, and happy. This almighty superconscious flooded the subconscious with love, and her whole life was changed. For years, resentment had held her in a state of torment and imprisoned her soul. The statement should be made over and over and over, sometimes for hours at a time, silently or audibly, with quietness but determination. So what we're doing is we're saying, I release this negative energy, and you hand it over, and I receive the thing that I want, whatever it is. So I'm releasing this negative energy and I'm receiving wealth and abundance and freedom, right? Because it creates space. And like she says here, it might need to be done for hours and hours and hours, again and again and again. You have to remember, the people who get the best results from these methods are the ones who do this very seriously. And I've done this very seriously. Sometimes I just lie down in my bed, right, nice and cozy, and I just let go, let go, let go, let go. And I've done this for hours and hours and hours, and I feel so great afterwards because it really gets cleared out. In fact, I'm going to a meditation this evening where this is all we do, just let go, let go, let go. So I'm releasing the burden, giving it to a higher power, and I'm receiving in its place freedom and wealth and abundance and happiness and love and purity and whatever else, right? And you keep letting it go, you keep letting it go, you keep letting it go. Another thing she mentions in this chapter is that sometimes it's best done with music or with dancing, right? So if you have music that puts you in a different state, music is magical. So you can listen to a tune that gets you in the right zone, and you can let go, let go, let go. Ah, yes. And then dance around the house and keep letting go, keep letting go, keep letting go. And the key thing to practice here is I'm releasing this up into the light, however you want to frame that. And I'm receiving the thing that I want. And you, of course, have your own specific desires. So use that. Focus on whatever it is. When we renounce something, we open the space and create the fortune for something new. Sometimes we just don't know how things are going to work out. So we have a burden around, how am I going to do it? What's going to happen? I don't know. So we say, I release the burden of knowing. I don't know. I'm releasing the fear, releasing the confusion. I'm releasing the negativity. I'm releasing the resentment. I'm releasing whatever. And I'm opening up to receive these wonderful feelings and this wonderful opportunity, and in whatever way it's supposed to come, with ease and grace. So let's just practice that again now for a few moments. Then you can take this into your life and you can practice it as much as you like. And the more you do it, with the more determination, the more powerful it gets. So think of, feel the burden, whatever it is, and you say to yourself out loud or in your heart and mind, I release this burden up into the light and feel it being pulled out of you. And I now receive the abundance and wealth and whatever it is. You can tell yourself what you want. And you can say this again and again. Keep doing it again and again. Releasing and then receiving. And then releasing and receiving. And you can do this with one thing at a time, or you can do various things. It's worth taking the time, like she says, to do this again and again and again for it to really sink in. So you really let it go. And a great book, by the way, is Letting Go by David R. Hawkins, about how to let go. It's a very powerful book. So practice. This really, really works. You'll feel so much better. Remember, there's a stack of negativity, and once you release the stack, it's gone. It's gone, right? What a relief. So have fun with this. Thank you for your wonderful presence. And by the way, if you haven't already, go ahead and leave a review for this podcast. I love receiving reviews. Thank you so much. Because that helps more people find the podcast and listen to the podcast and share it with somebody. Someone else has burdens, not manifesting what they want, having a hard time. These things really, really work. I've manifested so many amazing things in my life using these methods. We, of course, have to take action. We can't just sit around letting go and not doing anything. But sometimes things do just appear out of nowhere, which is fun. So we're really dealing with a holistic approach, letting go of the things that don't serve, experiencing we've attained everything, being guided to the right places and situations, and saying positive things to ourselves internally and externally, and taking powerful aligned actions as we are inspired from the vibrations that we create. So success is yours. Wishing you every success in manifesting your purest desires. Lots of love, and talk to you soon.